But since we're having an election in November, it won't be late to bring up all these issues and demand for accountability on every of those issues, and of course, shine the light on how government has the failures of the Soludo government, since its inception. But today, the man to beat today is Governor Chukwuma Soludo, factually speaking.
Okay, talking about the peculiar issues of Anambra, now we know that political parties are founded upon ideologies. Now, based on these ideologies, how are these political parties addressing the peculiar issues of Anambra? Are we privy to any conversation as to how some of them plan to address this, peculiar issues? Let me know your thoughts.
Well, politics is still largely dependent on individuals. We've not shifted to ideologies. As an ardent student of Anambra politics, I will tell you that Anambra is not like any other state in Nigeria. What Anambra needs, its peculiar requirements, are very few, because the people themselves are very productive people. And so you look at the major areas are commerce. Anambra needs a political class that understands the place of commerce and enabling environments in building up the states to fulfill its potentials. For example, any government that is coming to Anambra that is not bent on market renewals, market expansions. For example, what you have here in Nnewi, in Onitsha, in Oka, and elsewhere, Ikuloba is still emerging, and Oba. If we cannot develop more of our markets into modern ones, and look at how we can support SMEs for manufacturing, every other thing is secondary. Like I said, infrastructure is good, but people have to be alive to enjoy infrastructure. So the emphasis in Anambra should go towards the areas of our comparative advantage, which is commerce and industry. Another challenge that Anambra has faced, has always faced since its history, is environmental challenges, namely erosion. In many places in Anambra today, there are a lot of serious threats to lives and properties occasioned by erosion. And gully, when I mean serious gully erosion and things of that nature. So the government in Anambra State has to also pay attention to the environmental policy and see how a holistic approach, which is a combination of both environmental policy formation, as well as addressing the natural disasters that are already manifest, can see how they can also incorporate the environment in. That's where I fault Governor Chukwuma Soludo. The nature of roads is within the Anambra State is not taking cognizance of the peculiar terrain and the erosion-prone nature of our communities. Most of our communities here in Nnewi, there's a lot of erosion-prone sites, and even ones that are full-blown. Same thing elsewhere. I saw a video from, was it Nnewi South the other day, where an entire community has been cut off. So any government that is serious in Anambra State must be serious on these two counts, on commerce and industrial development, as well as environmental policy, and how to address the myriads of environmental challenges that we have in Anambra State.
All right. Thank you so much, Nkanuzun Nnewi. Caleb Okeke, broadcast journalist, thank you for your insights. Although I wish I had you longer, but that will be for another time. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And thank you, Nigerians.
All right. New Day continues right after this break. Don't go anywhere.
Every second, every minute, every day, news is breaking. Events occur and there are new developments. At Signature TV, we follow these stories objectively, bringing all sides without bias, explaining the complex issues, breaking down the numbers, and
with a population of about 36 million people, the Southeast is awash with stories. Every day on Southeast News, we tell the peculiar story of the Southeast and her people.
Our Southeast should be the Silicon Valley of Nigeria.
Their successes, achievements, and daily challenges. Do you have a Southeast story to share? Community achievements and challenges, completed and uncompleted projects, bad roads, water scarcity, erosion, flooding, insecurity, or even disagreements? Bring it on to Southeast News. On Southeast News, no story is too big or too small. Southeast News. Let's tell our story. Showing on Signature TV every weekday at 4 p.m. WAT, 1600 hours GMT.
Every second, every minute, every day, news is breaking, events occur, and there are new developments. At Signature TV, we follow these stories objectively, bringing all sides without bias, explaining the complex issues, breaking down the numbers, and investigating the issues behind the news. Anywhere and everywhere, near or far, wherever the news is, we will be there. Signature TV. News in your pocket.
World Press Freedom Day highlights the importance of press freedom and freedom of expression globally. It was proclaimed by the United Nations General Assembly in 1993, following the recommendation of the UNESCO's General Conference. The press freedom is closely linked to human rights, particularly Article 10 of the European Convention on Human Rights and Article 9 of the African Charter on Human and People's Rights. This year's theme, Reporting in the Brave New World, underscores the importance of AI in journalism, particularly with the content creation, translation, data analysis, and fact-checking, as well as its attendant risks and challenges such as fake news, misinformation, and cyberbullying, among others. A veteran media practitioner, Christian Maduka, notes that traditional media is giving way to new trends, with AI playing a significant role.
The first question is, why should the press not be free? Who is afraid of the freedom of the press? Who is afraid of the society where the press, at the fourth estate of the ring, has been given the responsibility of reporting what is happening in the world? So whoever is afraid of that is a suspect. And that has been the fight all over. There are two sets of restriction of freedom. The ones that the journalists have put on themselves because of fear of what they suffered in the past. And the one that is there, if you report, you are dead. The coming of AI has become a threat both sides. But it comes with potentials and a lot of benefits because it's technology. For the ones who are now supposed to be threatening, because the serving as big threat, that's the people at the establishments. They are not safe with AI because there's nothing they do now that they will say is the traditional media that is. Because they are not safe with AI because even the citizen journalists who are everywhere with their devices can report anything. You find the most secret things in government places leaking.
Chioma Ude, a legal practitioner, emphasizes the need for accurate and transparent reporting, ensuring agreements between parties.
It's very, very important that the world media or press day is today, and I will also encourage them that they should try as much as possible to sieve and be sure about the information which they carry about, because it's not all about carrying the information but carrying the right information. If the information that you're carrying is wrong about a person, that person can actually sue you for infringing on his or her own rights.
An online media practitioner, Dr. Ifunanya Eke, believes new media trends should be accommodated as they provide a platform for voices to be heard.
Bloggers actually need that freedom because we're actually the ones that get the first sight information in the field. We're sometimes available at where we're needed, and the journalists or social media, well, the core registered bodies are not there. So most times when we have this news firsthand, we now help broadcast this information. So getting people aware is actually what we do. So it's important to, give us that freedom because we need it. Our journalists, information is free, and because we are first-hand in the field, we can all reach out to each other, try to get information as when necessary. But in as much as while we get that information, there are prior things we omit in the field, like safety first. Sometimes you get into an accident scene, and instead of trying to save the situation, you're just making videos. While we do that, we should just keep checkmating that moral discipline actually helps.
As new media continues to shape the media landscape, it's crucial to balance innovations with responsibility, ensuring press freedom and freedom of expression are protected. The World Press Freedom Day celebration serves as a reminder of the importance of a free press in promoting democratic values and human rights. Chinemerem Ikebunam, Signature TV News.
Every second, every minute, every day, news is breaking in your pocket.
Many thanks for still staying with us. Now we're going to shine a spotlight on a deeply rooted and critical issue that continues to shape national discourse, talking about the stereotyping and marginalization of Ndibo. I mean, from political exclusions and economic sidelining to cultural misrepresentation. These realities have actually continued to spark questions around national unity, equity, and even the future of the Nigerian federal structure. Well, joining us this morning is Dr. Malaki Uche, the Dean School of Business and Social Sciences, Madoka University, Ekwegbe, Nsukka. Good morning, Doc. Thank you for joining us again on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. We've had this kind of discussion before now, so we're just going to follow up and expound on some critical issues. But let's take it first from a historical point of view. Can you try to trace the roots of the marginalization of Ndibo? Is it something that started post-Civil War or prior to the Civil War or during the colonial times?
Well, one can say that the marginalization and probably the stigmatization, because stigmatization gives room for marginalization.
Indeed.
It started, some people locate it after the war, the Nigerian Biafran War. But history does not support that narrative. It began quite earlier than that. And in the context of what we are discussing, what is stigmatization? Because it's only when you understand what stigmatization and marginalization mean that you can actually determine if the Igbos are stigmatized or if they are marginalized. So stigmatization is the act of stereotyping an individual or group of individuals, labeling them for the purpose of denying them certain of their rights, including their fundamental human rights. And what are the markers of stigmatization? It could be your race, it could be your creativity that draws hubris from people. It could be quite a number. We have a saying, giving a dog a bad name in order to hang it. In other words, giving a dog a bad name is a form of stigmatization. Now, when an individual or group of individuals, become victims of stigmatization, because of that stigmatization, they are excluded from certain rights that they should come to them. And that is what we call marginalization. And marginalization is when you are deliberately excluded from the political processes, social processes, economic processes that should give you opening to, plug into the life opportunities that are bound in your society. And by a combination of factors, these openings are not given to you deliberately and by a kind of state policy. That is marginalization. Now, if the contextualization of these two words, as I've given now, is anything to go by, one would conclude that the Igbos are not just being stigmatized in Nigeria, but they are also being marginalized. And it did not start today. You see, in historical context, especially among the three large ethnic groups in Nigeria, the Hausa Fulani, the Yorubas, and the Igbos. The Igbos could be regarded as late starters. They could be regarded as late starters. The Europe made contact with the Yoruba nation early enough. As a matter of fact, from the Portuguese visit to the Kingdom of Benin in about 15th or 16th century, when Portugal established trading routes with Benin, visited the Oba of Benin, and from there they moved southwestwards. So the Yorubas made contact with foreign civilization much earlier than the Igbos. Same with the Hausa Fulani, with the Arab civilization. So the Igbos came much later. Contact with Europe, for instance, or foreign civilization came to Igbo land quite late.
Well, this history that Igbos actually repelled, foreign agents. Could that be the reason why?
That's not historically right.
Igbos never resisted the whites.
Of course, every culture resists foreign entities, yes. So the Igbo rejection, for instance, or resistance of foreign powers is not an isolated case. It's not an isolated. The Yorubas, even before they accepted the foreign culture, they resisted them. So why should the Igbo resistance become something of a peculiar discussion? No. A reading of Chinua Achebe's Things Fall Apart, gives you a step-by-step contact of the missionaries with Igbo land, and how, for instance, Umuofia resisted, how Mbanta resisted, and so on. I keep recommending the book Things Fall Apart to every person I am talking with, because that's a historical book, even though it is a novel. So if you understand that, you also understand that the Igbos, just like every other ethnic group, resisted the whites when they came. But like I was saying, foreign civilizations made contact with the Igbos much later. Now, like J.P. Clark's fine imagery of ants milling out of the forest, the Igbos, even though they were latecomers on the stage, the Igbos milled out and practically seized the floor.
In terms of economic activities?
In terms of economic activities, in terms of creating new vistas, taking their opportunities. The Igbos moved out of the Igbo homeland to expand their own horizon. The Igbos have unique qualities that other tribes, without sounding immodest, they don't have. The Igbos don't accept this glass of water just because you gave it to me. We ask questions. We ask questions. We want to test the untested waters. We see opportunities where others fail to see it. It could be by your bedside, and all along you have not seen it. The Igbos, they have that gift, and it's natural. And there are quite few people on earth that God has endowed with that. The Jews are one.
The Jews.
The Chinese.
People have actually drawn a lot of analogies between the Igbos and the Jews.
Yes, the Jews are one. The Chinese, the Malays. These are people whose economy revolves around buying and selling. And anywhere they come, buying and selling is not just about goods, but services as well. So when the Igbos milled out to other parts of Nigeria, they began to showcase their talent. They began to showcase all these qualities I've enumerated now. And they didn't, some people around them who were there before but couldn't see those opportunities, they became, in quotes, jealous. And they drew among the Igbos what you may call hubris against them. Don't mind them. They are doing shakara. That kind of mental attitude. So Even before the Nigerian Civil War, the Northern Regional House of Assembly, in its deliberation, I think 1959, 60, 61, these things are in the archives, so I'm not making them up.
Yeah.
I'm not making them up. And in that house, you had Wazir Ibrahim, you had Deep Cherima, you have quite a number of them. And in one of their deliberations, they said, you cannot continue, because the Igbos came to the north, built hotels, created a lot of things, created a lot of opportunities, economic hubs. And they said, we cannot continue selling land to the Igbos for them to build hotels and their churches and their industries. So there was a deliberate policy to hamstrung Igbo economic progress, even in the north. The Igbos remain the only ethnic group in Nigeria that creates a home wherever he finds himself, irrespective of whether it's in the Sahara Desert or Kalahari Desert. The Igbos have this penchant for creating a home wherever they see themselves. No other tribe in Nigeria, no other ethnic group in Nigeria has that characteristics. And I challenge anyone who says it's contrary. You go to Lagos, you go to the west, you see estates, virgin built up areas developed by the Igbos. The same in Abuja, the same in the north, the same in the somewhere south.
But has that characteristic actually paid off in the long run?
That's a matter for another discussion. But we are talking about, why are the Igbos stigmatized? Why are they marginalized? So this tendency to excel where others have failed is one issue. The Igbos have that characteristic. Number two, they accused as soon as the Igbos began to mill out from their homeland, you know what happened? They began to form what you may call town union associations, Igbo national unions, and so on. So even where they have gone out of their enclave, the Igbo enclave, they still bond together, which those unions became agents of social control. The Igbos also initiated, and even up to today, sustain transgenerational business propensities. Very few people. We invented Eba boy, apprenticeship. All these things. Other groups in Nigeria, they can't figure out how Igbos do these things. They can't figure out how we do these things. Now, because we are the Igbos, that doesn't mean we don't have a fault. We have a fault. They accuse us that we are very loud. You know, we celebrate wealth, we celebrate excellence, achievement. If that is what they call noise making, too bad. We'll continue to make the noise. The Igbos are not hamstrung by religion or culture. In the north, for instance, where you have the Sultan of Sokoto or the Emir wielding the powers of life and death, you don't have that in Igbo land. In other words, this is an individual that assumes the power of God and man. Among the Yorubas, you also have that kind of setting, and that's why indirect rule worked in these places.
Yes.
It never worked in Igbo land, because in Igbo land there is not, it's egalitarian, it's an egregious setting.
Society.
So you can be the son of a leper and still be the king of a community. And Chinua Achebe demonstrated this in Things Fall Apart, where Okonkwo, the son of a loafer, Onoka, rose from ash to become one of the lords of the clan. And he was celebrated. So that's how Igbos reward excellence and hard work. So we are not short-circuited by any culture. We are not short-circuited by any man playing God among us. Perhaps people can criticize us about that, but that is one of the overriding factors that drive Igbo
society.
Igbo society and Igbo success. So that is why. So immediately, these things, like what I've told you, happened in the Northern House of Assembly and so on. So the military coup of 1966 or thereabout was an opportunity to cast the Igbo in the role of a felon. It was an opportunity to cut these Igbos to size because we came out late. We were the top brass of the military, the police, name it. Igbos were everywhere. Igbos were everywhere. So immediately that coup happened, and it was unfortunately dubbed Igbo coup. It was an opportunity, whether either in the north or in the west, to cut this ambitious, loquacious, arrogant Igbos to size. And thus began the choreographed pogrom in the north. And thus began the Operation Wete in the west.
Yes, yes.
And after all this, the Igbos ran home. And after the war, they had been conquered. Other policies of stigmatized, the Igbos became stigmatized. So what after this stigmatization is a highway to marginalizing them. You can there's this unwritten agreement.
It's as if you knew the phrase in my heart now.
Yes.
The unwritten policy, the
Yes.
unwritten agreement.
Yes. Among other tribes in Nigeria.
How did this
against,
gain so much traction? It is unwritten.
Yes.
It is
but it is there.
So how did it gain traction?
There is no basis that can create unity among other parts of Nigeria than their resentment against the Igbos. The Hausa Fulani, the Yorubas, and other tribes in Nigeria will find the only point of unity is for them to unite against the Igbos. Why? Because success carries with it hubris. Success carries with it hubris. That is, the Igbos even give it as a name to their children. They give it as a name to their children. Ako, Vilo. Success begets envy. Success begets jealousy. It is like that. The Igbos succeed where others have failed. It's not an overstatement. And we can go ahead and name examples. So immediately after the war, there was an unwritten agreement, so to say, an unwritten sentiment. You see, these people, we have cut them to size, and this is the best time. If you give them opportunity of rising again, you will not hold them back. Therefore, let's unite so that leadership of this country can be rotating between north and south. And when it comes to south, they will say it is either southwest or south-south. Definitely not the southeast. And when it goes to the west, it goes to the southwest, which is homogeneous. They did not only stop there, because they know the numerical strength, the demographic strength of the Igbos. You know what they did? They began to atomize us. Igbos living at the periphery of Igbo political space, they were consciously and purposely carved out of Igbo dominance. For instance, the Anioma, in Delta State. For instance, the Ikwere in River State. For instance, the Orokam, Obadigbo, and all those Igala and Idoma communities that were carved out. So in reality, the Igbos are in excess of 100 million people.
Interesting.
They are in excess of 100 million people. So immediately after the war, and then there was this policy of 20 pounds.
Yes.
Emasculate them financially.
Economically, yes.
Emasculate them financially. Is it not ridiculous that after the war, all Igbo billionaires and millionaires
went home with 20 pounds?
Went home with 20 pounds. Is it not ridiculous? That was a conscious policy to play the Igbo out of the economy. And those who initiated that policy were not foolish. They knew the end point of that policy. And because the Igbos couldn't control money immediately after the war, the North and the West bought up all the shares in all the multinational companies in Nigeria. In Leventis, in USC, name them. Briscoe, Bata, Lennart's, Michelin, Volkswagen, and so on. Because we couldn't buy shares. We couldn't buy shares. And they bought all these shares. There was also the policy of abandoned property.
Yes.
All these houses, the Igbos, or the properties the Igbos acquired outside the Igbo homeland became confiscated. And the Nigerian government couldn't do anything. Even where it proclaimed the policy of no victor, no banquet. Even where it said it's committed to a policy of reconstruction, rehabilitation, and reconciliation. The policy of abandoned property persisted. It persisted. It has continued even up to today.
I was going to ask you, now we're in contemporary times.
Yes.
How has international interference or international entities, continued to aid in one way or the other, directly or indirectly, overtly or covertly? How has it been that international interference has continued to, support Igbo marginalization and stereotyping?
Well, let me tell you, the issue of international conspiracy, probably against the Igbo, is something that is debatable.
Okay.
The issue is there really any international interest in the agitation of the Igbos, especially in today's Nigeria?
But political wise,
it's neither here nor there. But let me tell you a few things about international interests or interest from international institutions or governments in what is happening in another country. There's what we call in international relations national interest. Is the vaguest concept you can think of in international relations. So if, for instance, Britain says we don't want Nigeria divided, it is because a united Nigeria serves the interest of Britain. So if in this first unity 10,000 Igbos are killed every day, insofar as it does not hamper the interests of Britain, Nigeria remains one. If in balkanizing Nigeria, the interest of Britain will be served, they will go ahead and instigate forces to balkanize Nigeria. So national interest, strategic national interest, is of importance. So nobody I was telling you that marginalization and stigmatization of Ndibo, it has continued even today. Number one, look at Amechi wrote to me when he was Minister for Transport. You know, initiated a real process that cut across Nigeria except the Igbo land. Why? Is it because we don't have goods or facilities to support that? That's one. Tell me, look at the National Assembly. Now, Ndibo have been marginalized politically. Ndibo have been marginalized economically, socially, in all fronts. And let me tell you, this marginalization and stigmatization is the core incendiary to groups like IPOP, MASOP, and so on. They have seen this thing. They have had it in history. They've grown up to see it happen to them. Happen to them. So, and if, for instance, there is a restructure of this country called Nigeria, unpack this humongous entity called Nigeria, unpack it. History. If you're a student of history and you did history of West Africa, you know that empires like Songhai Empire, Mali Empire, Sudan Empire, and all those empires, they will tell you the reasons for their rise, and they will tell you the reasons for their collapse. And one common reason that runs across their collapse is the inability of the leaders to unpack the empire and decentralize power, devolve power. Nigeria needs to be unpacked while it is remaining Nigeria. You know, in America, it's 54 states in America. Yet each state has a constitution, has its laws.
True federalism.
Yes. It has, they have their Supreme Court, and then there is the American Supreme Court. So what is stopping Nigeria from doing that? It's only by unbundling and reducing the power at the center, where the man at the center does not have the knife and the yam to give to who he loves or he didn't fit. It's only by unpacking Nigeria that we can begin to save this country. Nigeria is a country of immense potentials. I have gone around this country, and I'm not one of those who say divide Nigeria. I want a situation where our leaders can bring the potentials of this country, harness the potentials, and make Nigeria truly a great nation. But we have not done that. We have not done that.
Let's hold that thought, Doctor. Stereotyping and marginalization of Ndibo, a discourse you wouldn't want to miss. Continues right after this time out. Stay with us.
Every second, every minute, every day.
With a population of about 36 million people, the Southeast is awash with stories. Every day on Southeast News, we tell the peculiar story of the Southeast and her people.
Our Southeast should be the Silicon Valley of Nigeria.
Their successes, achievements, and daily challenges. Do you have a Southeast story to share? Community achievements and challenges. Completed and uncompleted projects. Bad roads, water scarcity, erosion, flooding, insecurity, or even disagreements? Bring it on to Southeast News. On Southeast News, no story is too big or too small. Southeast News. Let's tell our story. Showing on Signature TV every weekday at 4 p.m. WAT, 1600 hours GMT.
Welcome back. Well, we are talking stereotyping and marginalization of Ndibo. Dr. Malaki Uche is still in the studio doing justice to the subject matter. Now, Doctor, before we went on a break, you have spoken to so many things. You gave us a historical perspective as to the history of the roots of the marginalization of Ndibo.
Yes.
Spoke about colonial times, the unwritten rule or policy against the Ndibo and their marginalization. Spoke to the opportunity that the Civil War created in, you know, playing out this script. Now, are there other contributing factors? For example, do you think the media or popular culture somehow has actually added or contributed to the marginalization and stereotyping of Igbo? For example, they would say Igbo people are greedy, and that narrative has actually gained a lot of traction. How would you say how would you say the media or popular culture has actually contributed to this marginalization?
Well, the media, you know, Babington Macaulay Jr., who at the time was the editor of London Times, was summoned to the House of Commons about a story the newspaper carried. And in his defense, Babington Macaulay Jr. said, I cannot appropriate the views of the public to the views of the leadership. We are the fourth realm. We are the fourth of the realm. You have the realm of the executive, you have the realm of the legislature, you have the realm of the judiciary. The media is the fourth estate, and their duty is to hold these three realms accountable. And any media that has the capacity to touch an individual is exposed to narrations from that media, has also the capacity to shape opinions. And if that is taken, how has the Nigerian media evolved? What you can today dub Nigerian media took off from the activities of Nnamdi Azikiwe. You know, when he came back, Nigeria couldn't accommodate him something like that. He had to go to Ghana, where he established the West African Pilot. It was a medium for calling the colonial government to account. And he came back to Nigeria and became one of the biggest owners of newspaper companies in Nigeria, even before the Daily Times. Now, before the war, the Igbos controlled the media. Today, the Yorubas control the media. And you don't expect them to use their media to propagate Igbo agenda. So the accusation against the Igbos that we are greedy misses the point, because greed is an inherent attribute of man. What is greed? Greed is not when you eat too much. Greed is not when you appropriate everything just to yourself. Yes, these things are greed by nature, but man is by nature greedy, selfish,
always wanting more.
Always wanting more. Oliver Twist wants some more. So the accusation against the Igbo that they are very greedy misses the point. Give me an example of a greedy Igbo man, and I'll give you 10 examples of a It comes from the inside of those who are afraid of the Igbos. What can we do? Because if you give these people power, you may not be able to control them anymore. They will take over this country. It is that innate fear of the Igbo. Perchance, if you give them power, they will take over every place. That is the only thing that is holding Nigeria back from giving the Igbos power. Let me tell you, if Nigeria taps into the ingenuity, the creativity of the Igbos, this country will not be where we are today. It's a fact written on our conscience, and they know. And they know. If you were in Lagos immediately after the war, I was still a young boy, but in 1974, 75, 75, I was in secondary school, and my godfather was living in Benin. He was driving a bus for the Bendel Newspaper Corporation, the publishers of Observer magazine, Observer newspaper. So I was on holiday, so on one occasion he asked me to join him in his bus. He was distributing these newspapers. So I joined him. That was my first time of visiting Lagos, 1975. And Igbos were sleeping in Ido garage, under the bridge, looking for what to do. In the morning, everywhere you see them, and they make money, they buy plots of land. I recall that sometime I was challenged. I was living in Lagos. I had no job. So in where I was living, somewhere in Ikorodu, they began to do estates there. That's the Igbo man I'm telling you about now. They began to do. So in the morning, I will come out, and they will measure about 10-20 meters drainage. And I had my younger brother with me then. So in the morning, we will go get our portion, and because we were strong, we'll finish it immediately. And they will pay us, and we get another one. That money they paid, we will go and buy rice and prepare rice, jollof rice, and so on, and begin to sell to those who are working with us.
Co-laborers.
Yes, co-laborers. So we begin to sell food to them. That is the Igbo man. And by the time we were leaving, my younger brother was on running a restaurant from that, what we were paid digging gutters. That is the Igbo man for you. Not very few people have that capacity, that resilience, to survive. The Igbos, it is important to stigmatize and marginalize them. A group of people that can survive on 20 pounds and build a multi-trillion naira economy after the war, you should fear them and label them. That is the problem they have. And they do not know. And the Igbos, we have paid the highest price any group can pay in Nigeria. We have paid with our lives. We are the only true Nigerians, because it is only the Igbo that you can find property attached to his name in Lagos, in Kano, in Meduguri, name it. You can go around this ENUGU state. If you, in Igbo land, these 5 states called 5 states of Igbo land, I challenge anybody who can give me a census of 1,000 buildings owned by a Yoruba man or an Hausa Fulani man. But if you go to Lagos alone, you will see estates, lands recovered by Igbos, developed by them. Amu Odofi was developed by Igbos. Alaba developed by Igbos. Kalambosa developed by Igbos. Go to Kano. Go to the Sabongeri area of Kano. Go and see the development there. What they are waiting for these Igbos when they will leave and so on. If an Igbo man wants to sell his building in Lagos and they will start, the pricing will be so disgusting. So I am telling you, if a group of people can use 20 pounds after a 13-month debilitating civil war and build a $1 trillion economy, you should fear those people.
Interesting.
Okay, Doctor, I want to find out from you, from your perspective, of course, how has social-political groups, for example, I'm thinking about Ohaneze and Igbo,
Yes.
social-political groups, and then the political class, the Igbo political class.
Yes.
Have they done enough to stop the stereotyping, or at least reduce the stereotyping and marginalization of Igbo? You think they've done enough? What are your thoughts?
Well, Ohaneze and Igbo are political class. You see, enough is never enough. So they have done, and they are still doing their best to do that. But I'll tell you a few things. Ohaneze and Igbo, which grew up out of Igbo National Union, because one of the outcomes of the Civil War was the banning, so to say, scraping by government of Igbo unions. They scraped it. So immediately after the war, Akanibiam and people like him came together and then bettered Ohaneze and Igbo. And the essence of Ohaneze and Igbo is to, give a sense of belonging, a sense of unity among the Igbos, and so on. And it was supposed to be core Igbo-driven platform. They have done a lot in their own right to recalibrate the Igbo stand in Nigeria, just as other Igbo socio-cultural organizations that are under Ohaneze, like Ali Igbo Development Foundation, and so on and so forth. But the point is, I was the immediate past state secretary of Ohaneze and Igbo in ENUGU State. So I know that Ohaneze has done a lot in terms of engaging people from outside Igbo land. We have had handshakes across the Middle Belt. We had handshake across the Niger and handshake across Imo River. We have tried to reach out. We are not like you are making us to be. We are not like we are devils. We have done that. And that was the essence of creating the Southern and Middle Belt Leadership Forum. That was it. Unless it has been changed yesterday, but I know the coordinator of that Southern and Middle Belt Forum is Chifun Nyamodo. And he has been doing a lot. We have stood before Nigeria to say, what you're doing to us, we don't like it. We have engaged the government. So Ohaneze is doing his best. That does not mean it doesn't have its own challenges. It has its own challenges. Now, to our political class, perhaps that's where we have a problem, because there are our politicians who collaborate with certain powers in Nigeria, to abort the Igbo agenda. I don't want to mention names. To abort the Igbo agenda. And such people, what is most important to them is to acquire political power. So if the Igbo homeland is burning, they don't care. They don't care. And we have examples that may be too close to mention. But I'm telling you that our political class, say few of them, we have not been able to get our politics right. That's the problem we are having today. And let me tell you, it is because the younger generation sees the political class as saboteurs, selling out. That is why these agitations are all over the place and so on. There is one Igbo senator. I can tell you that Igbo senator can walk from Nsukka on his feet, on his legs, to Umuahia, to Owerri. And the only response, the only reaction that Igbo senator will get is people coming out to carry him on their shoulders. I won't mention his name. But because he has connected with the Igbo, his comments resonate with the Igbo philosophy of we want freedom. Freedom is not going out of Nigeria. Freedom is, can we unpack this country called Nigeria?
And decentralized power.
Decentralized power, devolve power, and so on. You know, it will be foolhardy of me to come out here to tell you that, well, you know, the last presidential election, P2B won, but it was rigged, and so on. Well, Nigeria is a country of the absurd. It's a country of, it's a country that anything is possible. So, but I do know that if any other person had been in the saddle other than the present president, that person will ensure that the National Assembly does not become a rubber stamp or extension of the executive. That person will ensure that he or she is not playing God. We have a president that is playing God today. We have a president, we have a government that pretends that nothing is happening in Nigeria, that all is well. And I want to tell you, Mr. President, Nigeria is sick. And she will die if we keep pretending that she's only slightly indisposed. Come home. Do something responsible to get Nigeria working. Nigeria is not working now, Mr. President. And I want to talk to our National Assembly. This is the worst National Assembly I've ever seen. A National Assembly that cannot identify and perform its duties. The National Assembly has become a rubber stamp, a yes institution that appends its signature on everything that the president says. The judiciary has its own problems. You cannot get justice in Nigeria except your pocket is deep. We have become a mongrel nation. Mr. President, this country is sliding into chaos and perdition, and you have a duty to save this country.
Interesting. Now, let's still talk about Ohaneze in some form. You did mention that part of the marginalization and stereotyping, part of the strategies was to carve out certain Igbo tribes that were at the periphery, I mean, geographically.
Yes,
right?
yes.
What is Ndi Igbo doing to increase cohesion?
Yes.
I know at a point, someone from Ikwere, Ikwere, yeah, was instituted as a President General.
He's still there?
He's still there.
Yeah, that's Senator Mbata.
Mbata, yes, correct.
Yeah.
Tell us how what are some of the things he's doing to ensure cohesion? Because there were some backlashes after he was, elected.
Yes.
Yeah, from the Ikwere people, the Ikwere nation. So tell us how that has
been. Is Ikwere
been.
a nation? Because these are things, let me tell you something. Sometimes we need to tell ourselves hard truth. Hard truth. Joji, that was corrupted to Jaja, was an Igbo man.
Jaja himself?
Yes. His name is Jojo. This is history. So I'm not making these things up, and I can prove it beyond all reasonable doubts. The Ikweres are Igbos. When did they start changing Umo Omasi to Rumo Omasi? Umo Okoro to Rumo Okoro. When did they start? It was Professor Foizer that did that in University of Port Harcourt. And I met him as a student in University of Port Harcourt. So this idea, we are not Igbos. You're not Ijos. You're not these. You're Ikweres. I mean, that is being that's self-deception at best. And that is why Ohaneze, we have 5 core Igbo states and then 2 Ohaneze states.
What Delta by Ohaneze state, okay.
Delta, Anioma is Ohaneze. Ikwere, that's Port Harcourt. Igwocha, that's the name of Port Harcourt, Igwocha. That's the name of Port Harcourt. Igwocha, all those places, they are also Igbos. And that is why from Anioma, you have had Ambassador Ralph Wetre as president of Ohanese. You have had Professor Mwabweze as Secretary General of Ohanese. That's Anioma Ohanese. We know, we recognize them as Ohanese. And they know if Ibanke people recently, Ibanke is somewhere in as if you're going towards Benin. If Ibanke people, just about 2 weeks ago or thereabout, I can't remember exactly, but just very recently, you know, re-established their Igbo-ness. Anybody who is denying that he's not Igbo, he's doing so at his own level. If somebody, for instance, who is say his name is Mwike, removes N and says it's Wike, the meaning remains the same. Wike, that is
Child of Ike.
yes.
Child of Ike.
Are you getting me?
Yes.
Child of Ike. Wike. Child of Ike. It has not changed. It's just somebody being funny or a group of people being funny. You cannot, your son or your daughter cannot, you know, define his identity. His identity is not removed from you. It is your identity. So that is why the presidency of Ohanese is rotational among the 7 Ohanese states. And now it is Rivers State that should produce the president of Ohanese Ndigbo. And it was zoned to them. And they have produced Senator Mbata, His Excellency Senator Mbata, as the president. And Senator Mbata, thank God for him, he recognizes the difficulty in bringing back the Ikweres into the fold of Ohanese. And he's doing that, not without challenges though.
Of course.
Yeah, but Mbata is, for now, he's been very wonderful. He's been doing a marvelous job.
Okay, interesting. Do you think, because I believe in if there's an agenda or there's an outcome that is expected, there should be multiple strategies to achieving that outcome. That's a personal belief. Now, aside the fact that we are trying to, you know, bring about cohesion, especially amongst our brothers who are at the periphery, do you think there could be a bottom-up approach? For example, history has been brought back to schools.
Yes.
Is there any way we can inculcate our history? For example, Jaja Opobo, where he came from, what he did, inculcate it in history so that younger ones growing up will know, oh, these are our brothers, so these are our sisters.
Yes.
What do you think about that strategy?
That is a very nice strategy. You see, the funny thing is that history has been reintroduced into our curriculum, I think secondary school or thereabout. But who are the history teachers? What history do they know? You cannot give what you don't have. You cannot. I teach in the university, for instance, and I know that even in year one curriculum, say history of Nigeria, and so you tell somebody about King Kosoko of Lagos, he said, well, what? Excuse me? You tell somebody of Long Juju of Arochukwu, say what? You tell somebody about, there are so many things you tell them, and they seem like, what? Are you speaking Latin? And you begin to see yourself, I hope I'm normal. Because our students have not been taught history at all. That is why in Maduka University, we have tried to bring history into the curriculum. We teach a course, a year one course, which is general course. We teach Nigeria and the wider world. A course called Nigeria and the wider world. When you now tell them about the history of Nigeria, the constituents of Nigeria, how Nigeria evolved, and so on.
Is it an online course? Can it be accessed online?
Yes, it can be accessed online because I'll give you the link.
Please.
Yes, Nigeria and the wider world. Incidentally, I teach that course.
Interesting.
I teach that course.
So, Doctor, what's the way forward? Because we've run out of time. What's the way forward? In 2 minutes, please.
Nigeria should consider seriously the issue of restructuring. You must unbundle this behemoth called Nigeria. Number 2, Nigeria should accept the Igbos as a gift from God to them and tap into their industry, their energy and creativity. The Igbos have the intellectual ability, powerhouse, to redefine Nigeria. So I expect our people to be more accommodating to the Igbos, to stop marginalizing us, and to stop stigmatizing us. We didn't give ourselves the virtues we have. God did. And the only thing I know is that if you thank God for the gift of wisdom to another person, God will give you wisdom.
Absolutely. Dr. Malaki Ochie, Dean, School of Business and Social Studies, Social Sciences, I beg your pardon, Madoka University, Ikwebe, Nsukka. Thank you so much, sir, for your time and your insights.
Thank you very much, and thank you, listeners.
All right, so New Day continues right after this break. Stay with us.
Every second, every minute, every day. Every second, every minute, every day, news is breaking, events occur, and there are new developments. At Signature TV, we follow these stories objectively, bringing all sides without bias, explaining the complex issues, breaking down the numbers, and investigating the issues behind the news. Anywhere and everywhere, near or far, wherever the news is, we will be there. Signature TV. News in your pocket.
Hello guys, I believe you all are doing well today. I bring you precious greetings in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ. This is Gospel Lounge on Signature TV, and it promises to be a great show, leaving you completely blessed, educated, and most of all, inspired. Therefore, gather your family and friends. Let's enjoy the show together. My name is Victor Chief Judge. You are welcome. Let's just sing a song of worship to God for all the things that He has done for us. Great is thy faithfulness, O Lord my Father. There is no shadow of turning with thee. Thou changest not, thy compassion they fail not. As thou hast been, thou forever will be. Oh, great is thy faithfulness. Great is thy faithfulness. Morning by morning, new mercies I see. All that I've needed, your hands has provided. Great is your faithfulness, Lord, unto me. You see, summer and winter, springtime and harvest, sun, moon, and stars in their courses above, join with all nature in manifold witness to thy great faithfulness, mercy, and love. Oh, great is thy faithfulness. Great is thy faithfulness. Morning by morning, new mercies I see. And all that I've needed, your hands has provided. Great is your faithfulness, Lord, unto me. Great is your faithfulness. And we bring you all the glory and praise in Jesus' precious name. Amen. All right, life is full of issues, and to this end, anyone who doesn't have the habit of reflection and meditation will live in continuous despair. Something Prophet Habakkuk said in Habakkuk chapter 2 and verse 1. The Amplified Version said, "Oh, I know I have been rash to talk out plainly this way to God. I will, in my thinking, stand upon my watch, on my post of observation, and station myself to the tower of fortress." What am I going to do there? I will watch to see what he will say within me and what answer I will make as his mouthpiece to the perplexities of my complaints against him. So you see, in this segment of the show, pay rapt attention to receive great insights for the next move in life. I'll be right back to continue the show with you.
Brothers and sisters, on this fourth Sunday of Easter, I'd like to reflect with you on hearing God's voice. In the gospel today, Jesus says, "My sheep hear my voice. I know them and they follow me." Are you following the Lord? Are you listening to the Lord? There are many promises that the Lord makes to those who listen, who receive the word, and who follow. He will shield you from harm. He will lead you on the right path. He is the good shepherd who leads us to fresh and green pastures. He is the good shepherd who feeds us. He is the good shepherd who guards and guides us so that we may reach our ultimate human destiny. Do you hear God's voice? I know someone asked me recently as we celebrate the election of the new Pope, Pope Leo, someone asked me, do the cardinals hear the voice of God when they are in that Sistine Chapel? But what the church just did, which is amazing, we see the surprises of God can serve for us as a lesson on how to hear God's voice. The cardinals spoke to each other over close to 2 weeks, invited so many people, wise people, to speak to them, to reflect with them on the Word of God. They prayed together. They discerned together. But above all, when the time came for the conclave, they removed all distractions. Phone, television, newspaper, they were silent. In the silence of their hearts, as they activated, as it were, their spiritual antennas, they could see the Lord clearly, hear the Lord distinctly, and through a penitential heart, asking God to remove every human element in their choosing, in their seeing, in their thinking, and allow the Spirit to have a way. I think that can serve for us as a model of how to hear God's word. For we live in a very noisy world. Sometimes there are many things playing in your mind, like a movie. Sometimes we don't make time for God to speak to us. Even in our pains and our troubles, do we hear God speaking to us in those moments when things are not going well? Like C.S. Lewis says, that God whispers to us in our pleasure, but he screams to us in our pain. Pain is God's alarm bell, calling us deeper to our interior self. Like St. Augustine says, God is closer to me than I am to myself. And in his confession, he said, God, you were screaming at me that I couldn't hear. Your light was so illuminative, but I couldn't see. Why? Because of the burden of sin. But then he said God was insistent, calling and calling. And at some point, the Lord, who would never take no for an answer, compelled his heart. And he said, late have I known you, O mystery, so ancient and so new. Late have I known you, but now I come to you. The Lord is speaking to each and every one of us every day. And we have also to be careful, because it's not everything you hear comes from God. That is why the cardinals, as we saw, they discern together. Sometimes when you hear God asking you to do something, maybe you pray about it. When you pray, you speak to someone about it. You give it some time. The cardinals didn't just immediately elect the Pope. It took some time. So hearing God's word is also a gradual process. Because God reveals to each and every one of us divine realities through our ordinary human nature. And God transforms us gradually, step by step, until that union of mind, will, soul, heart, and entire being with God. We like to thank the Lord that God can speak to us, because again, the voice of God is a spiritual voice. In order to hear God's voice, you have also to mount to the realm of the spiritual. You have to move beyond the natural to the supernatural. The voice of God comes in a gentle way. You have to have a gentle and calm heart. The voice of God comes in surprising ways. Therefore, your spiritual feelers must be active, because God can speak to you in the most ordinary circumstances of life. Not only in your pains, not only in your confusion, not only in your doubts, but God can also speak to you, especially through the poor, those who suffer. God can speak to you through tragedies. God can speak to you through your success, but also through your failures. The good news is that God is speaking. The bad news is that sometimes we don't hear God. Sometimes we are looking for God in extraordinary circumstances, whereas God has made God's self available to us in the most ordinary circumstances. My sheep hear my voice. Nobody can take my sheep from me. And that is the promise that the Lord has given to us. As we follow the Lord, that no harm will come our way. Even if harm comes your way, God will give you the grace to handle it. But God is inviting us as a church and as Christians at this moment to follow the Good Shepherd. We see in the Revelation in the second reading that we will go through trials and tribulations, both as a church and as individuals. That doesn't mean that God is not speaking or that God is absent, but God is strengthening us. So let us pray that each and every one of us, that you make that commitment to listen to God. It's not enough to hear, but also to heed. That is to listen to God, to receive the message, but also to respond. God is not revealing God's self to you so that you will remain the way you are. God speaks to us so that we can move to where God wants us to be, so we can walk with God. May you hear God's voice. May that voice give you strength, anointing, grace. May God speak to you again, even in the circumstances of your life, the challenging circumstances, as well as the joyful circumstances. And may the hand of God be upon you as you continue to place your trust in this God who makes himself available to us, reveals himself to us, and invites us to follow him to that future which he alone knows. Amen.
Every second, every minute.
I'm glad to have you back. I hope you were greatly inspired by that session. Please do the needful with all that you have heard or learned from that session of reflection. I have a wonderful guest in the studio today, an amazing man of God, very interesting. I'm going to introduce him to you, and we are going to be talking something very critical today, mentorship. All right? Is a very critical topic to talk about, so we are going to talk about mentorship. All right, is a valuable relationship where an experienced individual, we call that person the mentor, guides the less experienced individual, the mentee, in their personal or professional development. You see, this subtopic is so interesting, and just like I've told you, I have an interesting guest today that will help us to shed more light on this very topic. He's Pastor Sam Onoha, a visionary leader and a leadership strategist, a transformational speaker with a passion for developing individuals and organizations. He is the president of the Beacon Institute and the convener of the annual Leadership Conference. as well as platforms dedicated to equipping leaders. He's a civil engineer by training, a highly sought-after speaker, administrator, and the lead pastor of the Lighthouse Christian Chapel worldwide. Friends, help me make welcome Pastor Sam Onoha to Gospel Lounge. Thank you, sir, for joining us.
Thank you, my brother.
Thank you.
Being here.
Good to see you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Mentorship.
Yeah.
Do we still practice this these days?
I think we do.
On the scale of 10, are we still... I think...
I will give it a 6.
A 6, okay.
I'll give it a 6 because of a few factors.
Okay.
Yes, I think that we practice it where the mentee is intentional.
Okay.
Yeah, it requires intentionality on the part of the mentee, and then another form of intentionality on the part of the mentor.
Okay.
Yes, the mentor being intentional to have a legacy.
Yeah.
Makes him seek out someone to mentor and pour into the next generation.
Okay.
The mentee that is intentional about securing a future for himself seeks out a mentor. So you see that both ways there's a need for intentionality. Now, why I will give it a 6 is that we've seen a situation where many people that have become successful in their sphere, there's a problem that arises with success.
Yeah.
Is that the successful gets more busy. They get more busy. And because of that, there may not be that time to intentionally switch if the mentor does not intentionally plan it. Now, on the side of the mentee, we see a generation that is fast rising, that wants to get to the end without the process.
That's a problem.
Yes, they want to get to the end without the process. They want to get at 20 what their father got at 50. Yeah, and they don't want to go through the process. And the mentor is the processor. Like a very good friend of mine said to me, the mentor is the processor that will take you through the process.
Yes.
So if the young man does not want to go through the process, now he gets to the street, he's hustling, laboring, and does not remember he will not always be young.
Now, that's a very critical thing to think about.
Yes.
We will not always be young.
Yes, you will not always be young.
My God.
You will not always be young. So you need someone to guide you now that you have your days of strength. So you'll be able to use those days usefully. In the days when you are no longer as strong as you are, wisdom begins to guide you because you've had wisdom. You've learned from the ones ahead of you. But these days we just want to make things, I want to blow, I want to hit it, I want to, but people don't really blow. If you want to stay up, you grow up. You don't blow up. True.
This is very striking. If you want to stay up, you need to grow up,
and not
to blow up.
Yes,
and you said something very striking here. A lot of people really want to get there quickly and get what their father got at 50, at 20.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned something about wisdom.
Yes, sir.
But I'm just trying to make a case here.
Okay.
The generation we have found ourselves sees the technologies we have around us as something that can actually grant us some things very fast, and not the way our fathers got it.
Yes,
What's the difference between this technology and the wisdom you're talking about?
Oh, you're talking to a pastor. Well, I think that mostly what technology gives us access to is information.
Okay.
Information is the raw material for wisdom. But not really wisdom by itself.
Yeah.
Information tampered with experience produces wisdom. That's what we call wisdom in the secular palace, and I believe it. I believe it as
Yes.
well. I also, because I am a person of the faith, I also see it from the spiritual angle that I know that wisdom is God's opinion on a matter.
Okay.
So that's my interpretation of wisdom.
Yeah.
God's opinion on a matter. So whatever information I have, it becomes the template upon which God puts his light and give me wisdom. So when I speak or when I act in terms of the plans and the purpose of God, and the world calls it wisdom, but I know I borrowed it from somewhere. Now, we live in a generation that is fraught with information, technology, ChatGPT, and the rest of them. And they are good, they are important, they are beautiful. But if we don't find points of application for the information that we get, we will be learned fools.
Points of application.
Yes. We have a lot of learned fools. We have people that have degrees more than a thermometer, but they cannot make simple decisions with their life. They don't have the wisdom required to apply the knowledge they have gotten. So you see, okay, I noticed something recently.
Okay.
I laughed over it. I saw it 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, and then I saw it again yesterday. I realized that these days people, it's a very common thing, but I realized that some people rather, don't have time to write maybe a birthday wish. Let me use that as an illustration for people. So these days now, it's your birthday, and someone close to you does not have the time to, so goes to ChatGPT, give me a birthday wish for that, and they don't just do copy and paste. And the things that they tend to forget is that technology has no emotions.
Oh, yeah.
And the reason you are writing this person is because there's an emotional connection. Now, if we are really that close, I will know what you wrote from your heart and what you copied. So you see, they have information without wisdom. But what technology is supposed to do is to give us a framework. We bring in that experience, the things that we've been taught by the ones that are ahead of us. And as a spiritual person, the voice of God, and that produces wisdom. That's my take.
You know, this is very striking because just like you were saying something about someone going to ChatGPT and just getting information and all that.
Yes, sir.
These gadgets, they don't have emotions.
They don't.
Someone, okay, something happened recently.
Yes, sir.
My little boy was gifted.
Okay.
And somebody gave him money.
Okay.
And then he brought it home.
Okay.
And then I said, for bringing back this money home and not using it without our consent,
yes, sir,
I'm also going to give you the same amount someone gave you.
Oh. So you're enforcing a good habit.
Now, his expression was what got me. He just jumped up from the seat and just like, my wife said, what is doing? I said, that's expression. You know, it got me emotional that he could just express it like that. Someone from afar would just say, even if it is writing, they will just write something, thank you. What you saw is thank you. The expression is what it is. This is very, very deep.
Sir.
Now,
sir.
Still talking about our generation.
Yes, sir.
The past and the present. I want us to place either a comparison or a contrast, as it has to do with mentorship.
Yes, sir.
I still remember there is a practice of what our people, the Igbo people, call Igbo Odibo.
Yes.
Or Igbo boy.
Apprenticeship.
The apprenticeship.
Yes,
someone that goes, you serve for 7 years, and then this generation wants to get it so quick. What are we going to do? Honestly, this is a burden for me because our fathers are going. And just like you said earlier, there is no room to pour into the next generation. And a lot of wisdom is going with them.
Yes, sir.
The young men of these days, they don't really come to board with what it should be. It's shallow.
Yes, sir.
What do we do?
I realized that there is a need for a generation that I will call the middle class to arise.
Okay.
Yes. What do I call the middle class? The class between the fathers and the next generation. I think that I'm not an old man.
Yeah.
I'm not a boy.
True.
So I think I fall somewhere between there.
Okay.
And one of the things that I did was that I made a note of some of the fathers that are in my city.
Okay.
And I began to go see them one after the other to ask questions in my sphere. Yeah. I asked questions. These are men that are in their 80s, in their 70s. And I know in the next 20 years, except for the hand of God, they will not be here.
True.
And I heard the Chinese say that when an old man dies, the whole library dies.
That's right.
So I want to glean as much as I can. So one of the men I met, he said to me, your generation does not want to learn.
Hey. Hey.
If we find young men like you, we are willing to pour out. But none of you come. And by the time we are done with the conversation, he said to me, please do quick and come again. Yes, sir.
Wow.
Yes. The other one I met, he's in his 80s. And I asked a couple of questions and he spoke for 2 hours.
Wow.
Just answering my questions.
Wow.
At a point, he told me, I'm exhausted. He called his PA and said, come and carry this young man out. He wants to kill me.
Wow, that's the load, man.
So, now, why am I saying that? I needed to hear from the fathers. Because I know there's a generation that is looking up to me.
That's right. That's right.
So, now, if I'm able to download what the fathers know, in addition to the few I've been able to glean by myself, then I became intentional to call young people around me. That's what gave rise to the leadership conference.
Okay.
Yes, that we do it as an annual meeting, gather young people. We are teaching values. We are teaching both inside the church and outside the church because there is life outside church.
That's right. That's right.
So we try to teach the wisdom of the elders. We try to teach the wisdom of the fathers. And so we try not to make it a church thing.
Okay.
Because anyone can come in for the meeting.
For it, yeah.
Well, if we keep teaching that and then begin to show the path that someone has walked the path you want to walk. Because mentorship is actually following someone who is walking or has walked the path you want to walk.
Yeah.
But if these young people are not exposed to these truths, they think that the successful are too high or too far. So we need some people to bridge the gap. So that's why I said I think we need a generation that I call the middle class to bridge the gap. Either middle class as in age or in affluence or whatever.
Yeah.
Let there be an intermediary that will be able to link the wise and the not too wise.
Okay.
The old and the not too old. So that they can be able to straddle both parts. One leg, I tell them I have one leg in the old school and one leg in the new school. So I'm with the fathers, I can flow with the fathers. I'm with the young, I can flow with the young.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to do. I don't know what another person is trying to do, but that's what I'm trying to do.
This is so great to hear, creating systems and structures that will really transfer wisdom to the younger generation. This is so wonderful. Before I let you go, I just want to, just in a few minutes because of our time. As it has to do with, I love what you said about the leadership conference, that it didn't just make it to be a church stuff, to accommodate a lot of people. Now, I want us to shift a little bit. The nation, the hope of tomorrow, says the young ones. Or who are we looking up to? How are we going to balance this so that we don't lose a generation because of the kind of things we are seeing around us? We are not strangers here. So how do we, what would be your recommendation so that we have a better tomorrow as it has to do with the young ones that are coming up now?
I think that it cuts both ways.
Okay.
Like when we started, I think that the fathers of the nation, the elderly, the political class, we have to, they are actually doing it. Okay. I will be sincere with you. Yeah. They're actually doing it. It's just how they are doing it.
How they are doing it.
Because you see, the political class are having people replace them in political offices that are their sons, either biological sons or political sons, that is repeating the same mistakes that we are crying about. Okay, so if we can have the political class be intentional to talk about their flaws and their mistakes to the next generation. These are the mistakes I made. This is the mistake that my generation made. Don't do this part. This is what put this country in this state. Now, the young man also that is desiring to be at the top must learn not to cut corners. One of the things I've learned, sir, is that every father is somebody's son. And if I'm going to become a father tomorrow, I must make up my mind to be somebody's son today. So if I'm going to be somebody's son, I have to find someone intentionally to look up to, follow. I realized that in mentorship, You don't just listen to classes.
No.
You don't just listen to teachings. You observe.
You observe, that's right.
You learn from the right. You learn from... I realize I have begun to learn both from the things that was done right and the things that were not done right. So that I will see what to do and what not to do. Knowing that there is a generation that I am going to be accountable for. I will say this. I saw in the Bible that the Bible said David, after he has served his generation in the will of God.
Yeah.
So I have my generation to serve. But you see, David did not serve his generation without mentorship, because he was mentored by both Saul and Samuel.
That's right. That's right.
So he learned from Samuel what to do and from Saul what not to do. So he had the balance that when he came on the throne, he made a couple of mistakes because he's human. But then when he was now about to leave, he called his son. So his son began to say, I was a boy in my father's house and he taught me.
That's right.
So most of what we call the wisdom of Solomon was what David taught him. So when God showed up in Solomon's life to ask, what do you want? Someone taught him what to ask for.
Oh, this is lovely.
So God runs in the generations of father and son principle. And whether it's a political son, a biological son, a spiritual son, it doesn't make any difference. Someone needs to raise another person. That's the pattern. That's how it has always been. That's what made the Igbo race a powerful race. That's I read, I'm not sure, I didn't verify, but I understood that the Igbo apprenticeship system has produced more millionaires than Harvard.
That's right. That's right.
And I've seen people do better because someone is guiding their steps. We have a generation that doesn't want to be guided.
My God.
So every man is to his own bent. And it's a major problem. Nobody can correct anybody. Nobody can rebuke anyone. No one can direct anyone. And in those days, there was no king in Israel, and anybody did what was right in their own sight.
That's right.
I think that's where I'll
Man, guys, I hope you are learning so much from this, talking about mentorship with my friend, Pastor Sam Onoha. I call it to action now. Mentorship can be a powerful tool for personal and professional development, providing guidance, support, and opportunity for growth. Your position as a mentor, is a license. It's not a license, my friend, to dictatorship, all right? It's a life privilege to guide someone else into blessedness and relevance, both for themselves and the nation at large. And now to the mentee, you heard something he said, it must be intentional. Your submission to be mentored doesn't mean you're a second-class citizen. It's just an opportunity to be better and become all that God has designed for you. Greatness is a sure thing for everyone as ordained by God. However, it will be possible by humble and obedient submission to mentorship. You know, sometimes they say, but that's a very bad danger.
And see where it has kept us.
I'm telling you.
If you go to other cultures, you see how they help the lesser or the younger one, because there is a disposition of the heart that makes someone want to help you.
That's right.
But when you come off as confronting or challenging, the one that could help you says, let me see how you're going to do it. And then you call him wicked, but you initiated the cycle.
This is very, this is a case. But I believe why we're talking about it is so that our people will learn and adjust well. I must thank you very much for coming to the show, and as always, sharing wonderful insights to this very topic. Thank you very much for coming.
You, sir. It's my pleasure being here.
Good to see you. Thank you.
The good work you're doing.
Thank you.
God bless you.
Thank you. Glad to have you back. Thank you so much for being with us. This is still Gospel Lounge on Signature TV, and we are seriously going to enjoy ourselves with the next guest that I have in the studio. We are going to be talking about something very critical: avoiding domestic violence. The statistics is too crazy, if I will use the word. And but just by way of introduction, is a serious issue that affects individuals, families, and communities worldwide. In a broader view, is also known as intimate partner violence, which refers to a pattern of behavior where one person in a domestic relationship exercises control and power over the other, often through physical, emotional, or financial abuse. All right? This issue is critical and comprehensive as well. However, we shall focus on knowing the causes and the solutions to it. And to discuss and shed more light on the topic, I have a great woman with me in the studio. Dr. Mrs. Chinenye Onodugo is a clinical pharmacist by training, a healthcare consultant, a wife, a mother, a discreet marriage counselor with great years of experience. She's happily married, blessed with 4 amazing children, and loves reading, teaching, and meeting people. She enjoys planning and executive rural health outreaches where free medical care and medications are provided. She is an unapologetic Christian and testifies that the grace and mercy of the Lord has made her who she is today. A whole lot to say about my guest today, but guys, help me make welcome Dr. Chinenye Onodugo to Gospel Lounge.
Thank you
Mom,
so much.
you're welcome, man.
Thank you. I'm
Good
glad to
have
be
you.
here.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Good day, viewers. Yeah.
Thank you. Domestic violence. It's so crazy. But let's just get straight to it. What are the causes of this? We are not in that whether domestic violence is real, but what are the causes behind this?
Okay. I like to call them risk factors.
Okay.
Because sometimes when we say causes, it looks as if there's something that justifies domestic violence. You know, if there's a cause and effect, it means if you do this, then this is the natural response. So I don't like to call them causes.
Okay.
So I call them risk factors.
All right.
And there are several.
Okay.
Let me start from the one that may not be very popular. That is underage marriage.
Underage marriage.
Too early marriage, because it brings the couple on a very, very an unequal footing. So it's like you're a child. So, I mean, you don't have a say. You just have to do what I said, the way I said it, and how I said it. So that's a major issue. Even though that the girl child education has helped to increase the years, we still have people who tell us, my child just finished junior work, and people are coming to marry her. Will I tell her not to go? Please tell her not to go. Let her mature enough to be able to tell her left and her right, so that she doesn't enter her husband's home as a child and be treated as such. That's one.
Okay.
Another one is economic inequality. I say that with, I don't know how to, because it could be either way.
Yeah.
The woman could be earning more, the man could be earning more, and both of them could actually lead to the violence. Okay, so it's either, I've heard of a case where a man told his wife, look, everything in this house, you didn't know how it came in. You don't know how much it costs. So you don't touch it anyhow. You don't handle it anymore. That's abuse. That's emotional abuse. Okay?
Yeah.
So you make the lady feel unworthy. And then I've also heard a case where a woman told the man, look, you should be glad that I'm at all. You're not bringing anything here.
Yeah.
So be happy that I'm still managing to keep you and your people.
Oh my God.
That's not right. So that's another risk factor. And then there are cultural beliefs.
Okay.
Things that people grew up, okay, let me call them cultural beliefs / family history. Okay. Because unfortunately, evil begets evil.
True.
So why we keep talking about this and say, please don't let it start, is the children that grow up in that home, somehow that evil becomes normalized. Like I asked somebody a question someday. I said, there's something happening everywhere. I just call it normalization, and it's deadly. What do I mean by normalization? Let me use a very, very sad example. The first time you heard that people were killed in a particular village somehow, how did you feel?
Very, very horrible.
You probably prayed, didn't sleep well, kept crying or something.
Yeah.
Okay, so Today, how do you feel when the news is read? It's just like,
really a big deal
oh
this
God,
time
not
around.
again.
We've lost that.
But that's it. That's normalization of evil. So the children grow up in a place where it seems normal for daddy or mommy to fight, to beat each other, to say hurtful words. And they grow up thinking that's normal. That is what marriage is about. They may be growing up and saying, daddy, don't do this to mommy, or mommy, don't do this to daddy. But when they grow up, they actually act out what they were exposed to. So that environmental conditioning is also another risk factor. Childlessness, or what we call the boy-child syndrome. Where, I mean, did I marry a fellow man?
That's horrible.
You know, and then, why are you giving me only girls? You know, I've heard about somebody who said, your wife has had the child. Yes. Have you gone to see her? Why should I go and see her? It's not the same thing she has been giving birth to. That she's giving, you know. So that also brings forth violence of any type, whether physical, emotional, or any other way. Disrespect to spouse or in-laws or any other relationship. Let me put it this way. The men cherish their respect.
True.
It doesn't matter what level he is, how much he knows God. No. It doesn't really come into play.
It's kind of natural.
It is natural. So when that respect seems to be tampered with, so it sets the stage for violence. I've already talked about family upbringing, moral values, you know, so, and things like that. Then low levels of education. And when I say this, I don't necessarily mean schooling. I said education.
Yeah.
There are two different things.
There are two different things, yes.
So education does not necessarily mean the person went to school.
True.
But you have people who didn't go to formal school, who are well educated.
True, man.
So their reasoning patterns, their response patterns are different. Their mindsets, you know, so it's not just like I walked into something. It's not everything you respond to. It's not everything you react to. It's education that helps you to that. And then your knowledge of God and your fear of God. True. Yes. The religious society, the faiths that we belong to, unfortunately, and I would say it here, we expect that in Christendom, domestic violence should be it shouldn't be mentioned. Unfortunately, it's not true. I've read cases, in fact, there was a pathetic case, but it happened outside this country, Sha. I don't know, I hope such a thing can happen here. But I know that there was a case about a deacon's wife, so he's a church leader, isn't it? Was physically, emotionally, financially abusing the wife. And the wife kept going to the church to say, this is what happens in my home. Forget about what happens in church. This is what happens in my home. And you know, they will tell her, go home and submit. It's because you're not submitting. Go home and submit. So the man would come back from work or from where and said, look, I'm going to take a nap. When I wake up, I'm going to beat you. Yes. And then he goes to take the nap. And he wakes up and he beats her. And nothing happens.
My God.
And so one day he came back and said, brought out a gun and said, I'm going to take a nap. When I wake up, I'm going to shoot you. And the woman said, every promise he has ever made, he has always kept it. I don't want to tell the end of the story, but you know, let me stop the story. That way we are on air, so I don't give ideas to people. Then lack of courtship and marital counseling is very important. Sometimes we overlook it. I love him. I've met the love of my life. I have met the woman I'm going to marry. I had 3 weeks.
You're already talking about
even the father. You have siblings.
Yeah.
You grew up with them. You supposedly know them. And yet you still have disagreements, isn't it?
Yes, true.
Then you have two people from very diverse backgrounds.
Yeah.
And in 3 weeks, they are getting married. It's difficult to, unless those people are really, really mature. So the challenges that come, they'll be able to, you know, ride the storm.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's a recipe for violence. So that courtship is important. You get to know how this person reacts. What does he like? What does she like? What are the triggers? You know, so over time you learn perhaps,
Yeah.
to keep away from the triggers. Or if the people have anger issues, then you begin early to work on them, and then decide whether I can actually live with this anger issues or not. So it's better. I always say a broken engagement is far better than a broken marriage.
That's right.
I mean, there's so many other things. Alcoholism, drug use, substance abuse.
Yes.
Because it makes them
get high.
So they don't see human beings as human beings. You know, I like to use the example, the man who God healed. When the first time he said what he said, I see men as trees. Now when they are abusing one thing or the other, unfortunately they don't see the men, whether they are female or male men. They don't see them as men. They see them as trees. And what do you do to trees? You could cut them down, you could strip them bare, you could do anything to them, and the trees will still stand. But that's not the way a human being should
a lot of people are actually getting what we are saying, and then the question will be, what should be the proper approach to this? You know, generally speaking now, all right, what should be the proper approach to this domestic violence? When you see things like this, how do you respond to it, generally speaking?
Is it the person who is the recipient of the violence or the person outside looking in?
Both the person that is the recipient and the ones looking from outside.
It's a challenging question. Because there's also one aspect of violence that I think we need to mention.
Okay.
And that is that depending on how long it has been and how, what will I say, how serious perhaps it is, over time, the victims begin to believe that it's their fault. That this thing that's happened, they actually deserve it. I know the abuser also manipulates them to say, it's your fault. If you didn't annoy me, I wouldn't have done this. You know, so you've gotten what you're looking for, isn't it? I hope you're happy now. Meanwhile, the person you're talking to is the recipient of the abuse. You know, so I would say, for me, the first time the abuse starts, call for help. Don't believe that it will get better, because when it starts, usually, whether it's male or female, because females abuse males, so it's not only the male abusing female is a lot more common, but the other one also happens. Okay, so there's always this thing about, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to slap you, I didn't mean to say that. So you go and buy ice cream, buy a dress, buy flowers if you're outside this club, because you're buying flower for a Nigerian woman, I don't know. You understand? So, and apologize. Either you say it or you act it. You know, and it's okay, it will get better. And so the lady or the man says, it will get better. No, it doesn't get better. No, it does not get better. Once the abuse starts, it's a cycle that follows to its unfortunate end. And usually the end is not tidy.
True.
So please, at the first sign, seek help. I didn't say fight back. I said seek help. Reasonable help. Whether if you're in a setting where you have somebody, even if it's a family member, who can talk to the abuser, male or female, start to seek that help. If it is the church, you have a pastor who understands, who you can talk to, please seek help. If it's a non-governmental organization, and there are many, please seek help. Don't sit down and say it will get better. He said he won't do it again. He said in fact, they annoyed him in the office. I mean, if they annoyed him in the office, does not justify beating you at home.
It doesn't. And some people will say, maybe I'll pray it out.
Prayer solves a lot. But the person on whom prayer is working should be a little willing for the prayer to work. So please seek help. Don't keep quiet. Because there's something, and then don't be ashamed. It's not your fault. If you're in an abusive relationship, please hear me. It is not your fault. You didn't make the man or the woman do what he or she is doing to you. Remove that from your mind and seek help.
You know, a lot of people, you are talking about shame now. A lot of people will say, I don't know what people will say if they hear what is going on in my house, and now they are dying in silence.
And they eventually sometimes die, actually. Physically die. So please, shout out. Ask for help.
then if you're outside looking in, intervene as much as you can. Why I say as much as you can is that there are some situations that are really explosive. If you're not trained, and you get into it, you could actually get into trouble yourself.
True.
So you could be the one that will call for help. If I've had a case where it was a neighbor or something who called the family to say, your child will soon die. You better come. But anytime the family asks, it was a woman this time, how are you? Say, everything is fine.
Oh my God.
Everything is fine. So it was somebody who went to who knew the family and went to call the parents and said, look, come and retrieve your child here or else she's dead.
My God.
So you that you're outside, if you can intervene, please do. If you cannot intervene, please call out for help for those who can intervene. Sometimes it is a minor, like a domestic help, who calls out. You can still call out incognito. That's, you don't have to let it be known that you're the one that raised the alarm. Yeah, but I think it is our moral responsibility to raise the alarm. Don't be interested in telling stories. Like people come to accident areas instead of looking for how to help the victims.
Their phones
Thank you, so that they'll be the first people to upload to tell the story.
When I come across such videos, I say, oh Lord, why am I not here? I'll need to,
So don't want to tell the story. Don't want to be the one to tell the story. Prevent the story from developing at all. So call out for help. I think that's what I would say.
I want us to drag this thing down. You know, when you were talking, you said something about Christian homes. It's worrisome that where you are not supposed to mention this is where you find a very greater percentage of it. It's so unfortunate. But what should be our, as Christians now, what should be the guiding line to this domestic violence?
Well, I would say that this is my personal opinion. There's somewhere in the Bible, but Paul said, this is Paul speaking, not the Lord. So this is Chineye speaking now, okay? I think it's very difficult for me to really believe that you love God and you're serving Him from your heart, not going through the motions and be committing violence. That's me. So I believe that at any point you begin to commit that violence, there is a crack in your relationship with God. In your communication with God. You may not have run away completely, but you're no longer as close as you were. So I would say that if it's somebody who genuinely wants to be helped, the first place will be go back to the Lord. Just get back. Then let the scriptures not just be for reading, let them be. The Bible says, let your love not be only in words, but in deed. That man that you married, if you really love him, you wouldn't abuse him. That woman you married, if you truly love her, you wouldn't abuse her. Yes, people you're human, so yes, you can actually get annoyed. But take a walk. No, take a walk. It's better you take a walk, go out. Go and find a friend to talk with. Visit the museum when we used to have museums. I don't know. Do anything else. I have a friend who said that when her head is full, she's my senior, she enters a bus. Go to Holy Ghost, enter this small way. Get to Gariki. Climb down. Enter the next bus. Then by the time she goes around ENUGU 2 to 3 times.
My God.
But that's somebody who wants to help herself. That's her own pattern. It may not work for you. But I mean, that's admit that you have a problem. And then begin to take steps. And then prayer. Yes. Genuine, sincere prayer.
Genuine, sincere prayer. I love this.
Not when you beat her, black and blue. You now come and tell her, let us pray. What kind of prayer? In fact, you should be scared because the kind of prayer she will pray will be dangerous to your life. So genuine, sincere prayer. And like I said, the place of the word of God is a two-edged sword. It's sharp. if you actually read it, study it, meditate on it, imbibe it, it will change your life. Yes, people have anger issues, but if you are willing to admit you have an anger issue, you're willing to work on it, it's doable. People have worked out their anger issues. So you're not the first, and you will not be the last. You know, so, and I want to also speak to our Christian leaders.
Yes, yes.
Let's stop. Lord help me.
Yes.
Let's stop spiritualizing
everything.
What is secular.
Okay.
You know? Let's stop, I don't know. Let's call a spade a spade. If this man is beating his wife, call it wife beating. You know, give it its proper name, and handle it the proper way. Whether the man is a pastor, a deacon, your major funder in church, it does not matter. That woman who is verbally, emotionally, psychologically abusing the husband, even if she's the chief deaconess and the major prophetess through whom God speaks, call it what it is.
That's right,
and handle it the way it is. And that's because the truth is, if we handle it as a church, then we don't need people who are not in the church to handle it for us.
True.
But because sometimes we over-spiritualize it, so it becomes a major issue, becomes a crime sometimes. And so the society and the government and the regulators have to come in and handle it as a crime. And then sometimes you don't say, it's because we are Christians. It's not true. What did you do? Did you break the law? What you did, was it right or wrong? Is it punishable? Is it against the law of the land? Yes or no? And if it's yes, then even the Bible says you should be submissive to the laws of the land. As long as they don't tell you to do what God does not want you to do.
That's right.
And God hates violence. He said it.
Yes.
He said, in fact, it was so clear in Malachi. He said, I hate
violence.
Covering your wife with violence as a garment. God says, I hate it. So what else? How much clearer can the Lord put it for us to know that he does not support violence, whether physical, emotional. And please, I want to mention one aspect of violence that doesn't really get talked about.
Okay.
I call it economic violence.
Okay.
Financial violence, whatever you want to.
That's a very critical one.
Yes. Keeping your spouse or whoever that other person is from gaining access to economic means or even how to empower him or herself. So maybe the man works or the woman works, but she doesn't see her salary. So at the end of the month,
you open your hands and collect it.
Yes. And nothing is left. And every time she wants something, she has to plead for it.
No.
And then you tell, no, it happens.
Oh my God.
It happens. It has happened in the past. It's happening today. Probably will happen tomorrow.
My God.
Then sometimes it's, I don't want you to work.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem, but let her be provided for.
True.
Are you okay? So if you don't want her to work, that's fine. It's your family decision. Provide for her and the children. She doesn't have to meet you for every single personal thing. I want to buy, I don't want to say some things on air. She shouldn't. The children want to buy biscuits. We have to write application. Letter-headed paper.
That's not right.
Times New Roman. You know, to buy biscuit for the children.
That's not right.
Your wife or husband wants to go to school and you refuse. That's abuse. That's abuse.
True.
You know, so let's have, and then very importantly, another way to mitigate communication.
Communication.
I mean, I forgot to mention that a breakdown of communication normally precedes violence of every type.
Yeah.
So spouses, husbands and wives should endeavor to keep the communication lines open. You can always talk over everything.
Yeah.
And lest I forget, domestic violence also occurs against the children. It's not only the husband and the wife.
It affects them too.
It affects the children, and sometimes more the girl child. So sometimes you keep the girl child from being trained. Educational, you feel is a waste of money or so, but I guess maybe we're getting wiser.
True.
So all that is important to communicate. Listen to each other. Share your thoughts. And, you know, let there be nobody who feels that this person is saying something stupid. In a marriage, there's nothing stupid, okay? People should be free to air their views, and you should also be free to listen to it. Even if you don't agree, do not disparage the person. Don't make him or her feel less than a human being. Let me stop.
Oh my God, oh my God, this is so powerful. Friends, I believe you are getting a lot from this conversation. My head is blown. The truth is I'm going to bring back Dr. ENUGU back some other time. This is going to be a continuous conversation because a whole lot to unpack and help our people out there. I'd like to call it to action. Love and respect are key principles to our existence as human beings and very vital for coexistence, especially as couples or partners. Submission is mutual, all right, and so must not be obtained by sentiments of any sort. The mutuality of our existence lays strong responsibility on you and I to avoid anything that can breed abuse, no matter the form. However, when you see or experience violence or abuse, seek help. You heard my guests, seek help, shout. And now I can tell you, do this from discreet quarters. It's not everybody you talk to, all right? Go to people that know something, families, friends, and even the church. Seek legal advice. Don't take laws into your hands. You say, he did me this, let me do back, and then trouble. All individuals are created by God and in his image and likeness, and so deserve to be treated with dignity and respect. Please do these things. It's very, very important. It has been a very wonderful time talking with you, ma. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure being here.
Thank you. And from all of us here, we wish you well. Thank you. My amazing guest, thank you very much for being there with us. Do well to follow us on all our social media handles, and we wish to hear from you how we'll serve you better. From all of us here in Signature TV, we say thank you. My name is Victor Chief Judge. Shalom.
Every second, every minute, every day, news is breaking, events occur, and there are new developments. At Signature TV, we follow these stories objectively, bringing all sides without bias, explaining the complex issues, breaking down the numbers, and investigating the issues behind the news. Anywhere and everywhere, near or far, wherever the news is, we will be there. Signature TV. News in your pocket.
From the president to the ministers to the governors, all of them, 98% of them attended public schools from primary, secondary to university level, paying almost nothing. Now go to a typical primary and secondary school in your locality and see how it has been destroyed over the years simply because people in the position of power have the resources that they have accrued from the national treasury to take their children and give them the best of education in any part of the world. Keep that aside. 98% of people in the position of power, their mother either gave birth to them in their homes or in public hospitals, because in the last 40, 50, 60 years, how many private hospitals do we have in Nigeria? But now go to a typical private hospital, public hospital, and see what you have there. I was invited for an event, and then the head of a public school was delivering a speech, and he said, government can no more build hostels, government can no more give scholarships. So what can government do? You attended a public university, lived in a public hostel, and now you find yourself in a position of power. You cannot build more hostels for the generation that succeeded you. You went to public school and was given scholarship by your state government, and you are in a position of power. You cannot give scholarship to the children of the poor. You cannot build a nation when you rob Peter to pay Paul. If the system is that of robbing Peter to pay Paul, then they should only expect patriotism from Paul, not from Peter. So if this country will experience peace and stability, then we must ensure social justice and equity. These teamy young people who are sitting down, we don't know. This is a keg of gunpowder. This is a time bomb for our country. If you think that because you have 4 or 5 children that you have educated well, and then you don't care. But those are your children, which country are they going to live in? They're still going to live in this country here.
Signature TV. News in your pocket.
Since 1960, when we got independence, under the leadership of Zik and Awolowo, Sardauna Sokoto, Tafawa Balewa, things were in order. I was a very young person that time. Independence was something that we celebrated in a very big way during that time. After some years, we went to the military regime. Are you getting the point? Yes, there things begin to wobble from one year to another, the rest of it all. Since then, I don't think there is any improvement. Yes, there is no improvement. Yeah, we enjoy. At least after 10 years of independence, or if not 20 years, since then, nothing has changed. Nothing. We have not even, in fact, we are not be able to say we are now Nigerians that got independence, 1st of October, 1960. Nothing to show for it. Nothing practically to show for it. Hunger, poverty, sickness. Hospitals, no drugs. Talk about electricity, that one is 0/100. Are you getting the point? Potable water to drink is out of the game. Look at the oil subsidy that they removed, see where he plunged Nigerians into. No food, nothing. You hold 10,000 naira, you only buy have penta or gari. Where are we? We say that we are the giant of Africa. Where is the giant of Africa? Where we don't have anything to show for it. Our economy in Shabo is finished, it's dried.
For me, I'm not feeling anything for the celebration because Nigeria is really, really messed up as it stands now. There is nothing good in Nigeria, especially in the leadership system. Everything is falling. Look at the fuel price and the commodities in the market. It's very expensive. Celebrating, what's there to celebrate Nigeria independence when the poor masses can barely afford or to meet up their end living? So for me, the 64th independence Nigeria is celebrating is nothing to write home about. I'm not feeling excited because the country is already messed up already.
Nobody is enjoying the country anymore. The politicians, they are not after the poor masses. They are just enjoying doing their thing, only them alone. Even us boys now, we don't have work, no work in the streets. How will you? I don't have much to tell you about Nigeria anymore because I'm tired of Nigeria to be a Nigerian self.
We have a lot of issues about the economy in the country, and I don't see it befitting, to celebrate Independence Day. Because they're talking about the light issue. I think that they promised to exist at 24 hours light, but definitely we are not seeing it at all. Okay, like in my era right now, we don't have light. So we kind of we plead, so that they will kind of treat the masses well, and we should have good government in this country. Because apart, like what I've seen in the past years until now, we have been suffering a lot, So I want the government to really improve.
A man that is up to 64 years. No, I'm not up to 64. I'm not even up to 60. But I know if I am a man and I'm getting to 64 or being 64, I must have achieved a lot. Because from that 64, I will be, by now I have started preparing myself because I will achieve a lot. But Nigeria, honestly, telling you, I cannot say that I'm proud of what is going on now in Nigeria. By now, we must have gone so far in the sense that we cannot be rating Nigeria as one of the ugliest or poorest country by now. Because I remember when I was in primary school, my mom used to go to market with small money and she would buy a lot of things. But now, I will go to market with 50,000 naira. At times, when I come back, I will be looking at it. I will be thinking. I start to calculate myself. Oh, is there anything happened? Did I lose money? Did anybody put hand in my pockets to collect the money? But at the end of the day, after calculating, nobody touched my bag. Nigeria is deteriorating seriously, in the sense that I'm even afraid of our children. How are they going to cope because of the things that are happening now? Instead of trying to make things work well, things are getting worse every day. Look at our boys, look at our youth, jobless. They don't have work. Our job, they don't have no, and there's not even provision of, no even hope of getting that work. Look at medical department. Somebody will struggle and train a child to be a medical doctor, a pharmacist, or this thing. For you to do your housemanship, you are going to pay money for somebody to do housemanship, which means in no distant time we should be paying money for our children to go for youth service.
We need to really work hard to tackle insecurity. By insecurity, insecurity is just the major problem. I feel like when insecurity is tackled, I think less of the problem, like all this fraud and all this kind of shit, like any other thing, will be reduced. But my prayer for Nigeria is get better and keep growing more, because I see us as a very rich country.
Signature TV, news in your pocket. Every second, every minute, every day, news is breaking. Events occur and there are new developments. At Signature TV, we follow these stories objectively, bringing all sides without bias, explaining the complex issues, breaking down the numbers, and investigating the issues behind the news. Anywhere and everywhere, near or far, wherever the news is, we will be there. Signature TV. News in your pocket.
From the president to the ministers to the governors, all of them, 98% of them attended public schools from primary, secondary to university level, paying almost nothing. Now go to a typical primary and secondary school in your locality and see how it has been destroyed over the years simply because people in the position of power have the resources that they have accrued from the national treasury to take their children and give them the best of education in any part of the world. Keep that aside. 98% of people in the position of power, their mother either gave birth to them in their homes or in public hospitals, because in the last 40, 50, 60 years, how many private hospitals do we have in Nigeria? But now go to a typical private hospital, public hospital, and see what you have there. I was invited for an event, and then the head of a public school was delivering a speech, and he said, government can no more build hostels, government can no more give scholarships. So what can government do? You attended a public university, lived in a public hostel, and now you find yourself in a position of power. You cannot build more hostels for the generation that succeeded you. You went to public school and was given scholarship by your state government, and you are in a position of power. You cannot give scholarship to the children of the poor. You cannot build a nation when you rob Peter to pay Paul. If the system is that of robbing Peter to pay Paul, then they should only expect patriotism from Paul, not from Peter. So if this country will experience peace and stability, then we must ensure social justice and equity. These teamy young people who are sitting down, we don't know. This is a keg of gunpowder. This is a time bomb for our country. If you think that because you have 4 or 5 children that you have educated well and then you don't care. But those are your children, which country are they going to live in? They're still going to live in this country here.
Signature TV, news in your pocket.
Since 1960, when we got independence, under the leadership of Zik and Awolowo, Sardauna Sokoto, Tafawa Balewa, things were in order. I was a very young person that time. Independence was something that we celebrated in a very big way during that time. After some years, we went to the military regime. Are you getting the point? Yes. There things begin to wobble from one year to another, the rest of it all. Since then, I don't think there is any improvement. Yes, there is no improvement. Yeah, we enjoy. At least after 10 years of independence, or if not 20 years, since then, nothing has changed. Nothing. We have not even, in fact, we are not be able to get, say we are now Nigerians that got independence, 1st of October, 1960. Nothing to show for it. Nothing practically to show for it. Hunger, poverty, sickness. Hospitals, no drugs. Talk about electricity, that one is 0/100. Are you getting the point? Potable water to drink is out of the game. Look at the oil subsidy. that they removed, see where he plunged Nigerians into. No food, nothing. You hold 10,000 naira, you only buy have penta or gari. Where are we? We say that we are the giant of Africa. Where is the giant of Africa? Where we don't have anything to show for it. Our economy in Shabo is finished, it's dried.
For me, I'm not feeling anything for the celebration because Nigeria is really, really messed up as it stands now. There is nothing good in Nigeria, especially in the leadership system. Everything is falling. Look at the fuel price and the commodities in the market is very expensive. Celebrating, what's there to celebrate Nigeria independence when the poor masses can barely afford or to meet up their end living? So for me, the 64th independence Nigeria is celebrating is nothing to write home about. I'm not feeling excited because the country is already messed up already.
Nobody is enjoying the country anymore. The politicians, they are not after the poor masses. They are just enjoying doing their thing, only them alone. Even us boys now, we don't have work, no work in the streets. How will you? I don't have much to tell you about Nigeria anymore because I'm tired of Nigeria to be a Nigerian self.
We have a lot of issues about the economy in the country, and I don't see it befitting, to celebrate Independence Day. Because they're talking about the light issue. I think that they promised to exist at 24 hours light, but definitely we are not seeing it at all. Okay, like in my era right now, we don't have light. So we kind of we plead, so that they will kind of treat the masses well, and we should have good government in this country. Because apart, like what I've seen in the past years until now, we have been suffering a lot, So I want the government to really improve.
A man that is up to 64 years. No, I'm not up to 64. I'm not even up to 60. But I know if I am a man and I'm getting to 64 or being 64, I must have achieved a lot. Because from that 64, I will be, by now I have started preparing myself because I will achieve a lot. But Nigeria, honestly, telling you, I cannot say that I'm proud of what is going on now in Nigeria. By now, we must have gone so far in the sense that we cannot be rating Nigeria as one of the ugliest or poorest country by now. Because I remember when I was in primary school, my mom used to go to market with small money and she would buy a lot of things. But now, I will go to market with 50,000 naira. At times, when I come back, I'll be looking as if I'll be thinking. I start to calculate myself. Oh, is there anything happened? Did I lose money? Did anybody put hand in my pockets to collect the money? But at the end of the day, after calculating, nobody touched my bag. Nigeria is deteriorating seriously, in the sense that I'm even afraid of our children. How are they going to cope because of the things that are happening now? Instead of trying to make things work well, things are getting worse every day. Look at our boys, look at our youths, jobless. They don't have work. Our job, they don't have no, and there's not even provision of, no even hope of getting that work. Look at medical department. Somebody will struggle and train a child to be a medical doctor, a pharmacist, or this thing. For you to do your housemanship, you are going to pay money for somebody to do housemanship, which means in no distant time we should be paying money for our children to go for youth service.
We need to really work hard to tackle insecurity. My insecurity is just the major problem. I feel like when insecurity is tackled, I think less of the problem, like all this fraud and all this kind of shit, like any other thing, will be reduced. But my prayer for Nigeria is get better and keep growing more, because I see us as a very rich country.
Signature TV. News in your pocket. Every second, every minute, every day, news is breaking. Events occur and there are new developments. At Signature TV, we follow these stories objectively, bringing all sides without bias, explaining the complex issues, breaking down the numbers, and investigating the issues behind the news. Anywhere and everywhere, near or far, wherever the news is, we will be there. Signature TV. News in your pocket.
From the president to the ministers to the governors, all of them, 98% of them, attended public schools from primary, secondary to university level, paying almost nothing. Now go to a typical primary and secondary school in your locality and see how it has been destroyed over the years simply because people in the position of power have the resources that they have accrued from the national treasury to take their children and give them the best of education in any part of the world. Keep that aside. 98% of people in the position of power, their mother either gave birth to them in their homes or in public hospitals, because in the last 40, 50, 60 years, how many private hospitals do we have in Nigeria? But now go to a typical private hospital, public hospital, and see what you have there. I was invited for an event, and then the head of a public school was delivering a speech, and he said, government can no more build hostels, government can no more give scholarships. So what can government do? You attended a public university, lived in a public hostel, and now you find yourself in a position of power. You cannot build more hostels for the generation that succeeded you. You went to public school and was given a scholarship by your state government, and you are in a position of power. You cannot give scholarship to the children of the poor. You cannot build a nation when you rob Peter to pay Paul. If the system is that of robbing Peter to pay Paul, then they should only expect patriotism from Paul, not from Peter. So if this country will experience peace and stability, then we must ensure social justice and equity. These teamy young people who are sitting down, we don't know. This is a cake of gunpowder. This is a time bomb for our country. If you think that because you have 4 or 5 children that you have educated well and then you don't care. But those are your children, which country are they going to live in? They're still going to live in this country here.
Signature TV. News in your pocket.
Thank God it's Friday. Welcome to another edition of E-Vibes, the entertainment show on Signature TV. And of course, this is the Art Pop Culture program where we tend to give you interesting stories, dramas that have been making rounds in the entertainment industry and also on social media. I'm your baby girl, Queenette Mokonta. We'll be doing this 1 hour together. So first story on our list is fast rising Afrobeat star Niles Boy intends to feature Davido on his song. And for this, he has crafted what might be the most interesting campaign yet in Nigerian music. Niles Boy intends to visit all Nigerian 36 states, and for this, he has one message, which is to kneel and ask Davido for a verse. He revealed this intention in a post on his Instagram account where he was pictured holding a placard in front of the Osun State Government Secretariat, which kicked off the campaign. In the caption, Niles Boy explained that he started mimicking Davido in 2019 to get his attention for his music. Now he hopes to get a verse for the Afrobeats icon. Davido has reacted to the post with "set up" and a laughing emoji after thousands of fans tagged the 5-time Grammy nominee to Niles Boy's request. The campaign has now entered its second day as Niles Boy shared a picture of himself holding a placard in front of the Kano State Government House. While fans await Davido's response, they will also be curious to know if Niles Boy intends to follow through on his intention of visiting all 36 states. At any rate, a Davido verse would be a major one for Niles Boy, who has become one of Afrobeat's fastest rising stars since signing to Eminent Music. The singer has churned out the hit single Umbrella featuring Wandiko, Small Money, and Could This Be Love featuring Chike. His debut project In It featured guest verse from Tubaba, Fields, Chike and Fowls, in which captured his rise and acceptance to reputable colleagues. As dramatic as this seem or look, I mean, he has a target and he wants to meet it. He has a goal and he wants to meet it, which is not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. It's just the way he's portraying it. I'm actually curious to know if he will visit the 36 states in Nigeria to achieve his aim, because I mean, you really want to visit the 36 states in Nigeria to campaign for Davido to give you a verse in one of his music. It's not a bad idea. I mean, it's not a bad idea, but how do you intend to achieve that? And reacting to that, Davido said set up in the sense that he cannot do all these things and you don't give him a verse. Like, think about it. It's just natural and normal that maybe by the time he gets to the 4th, 5th state, although Davido might not allow him get to that point too, but maybe by the 4th, 5th, 7th, 10th state, Davido might now agree that, okay, do this verse in this music. Nas Boy is a very good music artist, a rising star for that matter. He has collaborated with so many hits, singers and all, but he really, I think this Davido part is something very important to him. We know Davido as a Grammy nominee and a big star for that matter. Davido is not a small music artist, so singing with Davido is something that would give him that rank, I think. But another thing I'm thinking about is, I hope it's not going to give him a mindset in the sense that because Omale sang with Davido that music with you, he thinks probably it's give him that mileage too. I mean, everybody's grace is different. We are not all born the same time and all fingers are not equal, so it might work for him the way it's worked for Omale. But this whole campaign thing, I think it's actually very dramatic, and I'm sure Davido, there's no way he would have gone too far and Davido would not give me listening ear. Anyways, let's move forward. The National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking, NAPTIP, has summoned controversial singer Darlington Okoye, better known as Pete Darlington, following his controversial admittance of engaging in sexual activity with a minor. The body revealed the summons via their social media handles on May 29, 2025, stating that the singer is expecting to appear Friday, May 30th, 2025 at their headquarters in Abuja. Darlington incurred the wrath of Nigerians after his recent Instagram live stream went viral. During the live, he began to share his past experience and alleged that he had sexual intercourse with a 15-year-old girl at an unnamed hotel. He then claimed that the girl was left bleeding after the sexual encounter, and he had to pay the hotel staff 2,000 naira to have the sheets changed. Following the severe backlash, the singer took to his social media to address the situation, claiming that he only said what he said to drive numbers of his new song. However, the Lagos State Domestic and Sexual Violence Agency also reacted to the video and promptly escalated the issue to NAPTIP. Listen to what Pete Darlington said.
15 self, if I know say 15 go bring me this attention, I for say na 12 make una head catch fire. Now because say I dey south now, the same conversation that I was just having with my lawyer. Now because say we are in southern Nigeria, would you come at me like this if we were in Sokoto? No, you would never disrespect me like this. Mr. Advocate VDM, go north now. Go north where 70-year-old they marry 11 years old. Mr. Activism. Go north. No. Chebi, you carry him for head. Activism my ass. Go north. Where 70-year-old men they marry 11. I saw one 2021. 12. Hey, a child married to 50-something years old. When I know they Igbo girl and for South she get. You want blow or not? Yes. You think regular they climb? Regular is pharmacies, bus driver, conductor, regular. Yes, you think regular they climb? Climbing is for extraordinary, irregular. Those willing to do what others are now willing to do. Huh? I no go sell my market again because you dey follow me. What the fuck I want to do with your fellowship? Eh? When VDM was locked up, mouth. Because I know, see, his whole content is insult. Attaching himself in people's business. When I'm ready for this front and back, bring it on, B. Because me, I know the other Nigerians where they fear you. Remove my name from your mouth, broski. Me and you no get beef. Don't make us have beef. Remove my name from your mouth so that we don't have beef.
Okay, so these have been making rounds on social media for quite some hours now. That was since, in fact, this was started on Wednesday, all right, until he went live yesterday. The problem is the fact that he sounds like he really did that. He sounds like, yes, he did it, and he's not ashamed of it. It's normal to him, even bringing up the northern part of Nigeria of someone that married a 12-year-old girl in 2021. You know, as funny as this sounds, controversial singer Akpi will always be controversial, because at some point I felt maybe he's trying to catch some cruise, or he's just trying to promote his music or something. But the moment I saw this video, it dawned on me that, oh, it could even be true, it could be possible. Because why would you make that emphasis on Igbo girls or Southern girls have freedom of speech or freedom of this, or they have mouths when it comes to the fact that they're in the South or in the East? There's no comparison. I don't understand. There's literally no comparison to this. You did something, you came out and you made mention of it, and the fact that you're saying, if you even knew if you knew that this would make you go viral, you'd have probably done it with someone younger. I don't know what we're turning into. I don't know what this whole country is turning into. We blame the government every single day, but it's as if we are even the problem we have for ourselves. How do you intend? And you're even shouting, Mr. Activist this, Mr. Activist that. I love Speed Darlington just because, you know, he's that controversial that, you know, makes me laugh. Do you understand? But this one, I don't think I can even side him on this one, honestly. I don't know what I would say that would make it seem right. Let's wait till he meets them today in court, because at the end of the day, we need justice. The fact that you saw bloodstains on the bed sheet and you asked one of the hotel workers to change it, and you gave her 2,000 naira. What even made me more confused is the fact that he acknowledges these things, like he acknowledges it. So to me, are you joking, or are you calling yourself out? Is this a serious matter? Maybe it doesn't seem serious to him. Maybe it's something that is funny. Maybe it's something to trend to him. He forget that we have lawyers, we have law. This is a law. Okay, yes, it's a law-abiding country, actually. He forgets this. I don't know. Sometimes I tend to wonder, what's the point of all this seeking for fame the wrong way? Where did it start from? Where did it go wrong? What is all this? That you slept with a 15-year-old girl and you're coming out to make it look like it's a boast. That because if we are not in the north, the northern part of Nigeria have their tradition. They have their belief. You cannot compare it. There's no comparison at all. You're not a Muslim, for crying out loud. So make it make sense. Make it make sense. I know people would say the girl in question that went to the hotel with Speed Darlington, what happened to her parents? Yes, these are questions we need to ask also, because this is not a rape case actually. Anyways, let's move over to the foreign scene. Faizan Zaki, a 13-year-old boy from the Dallas area, won the 97th Scripps National Spelling Bee on Thursday, May 29th, swiftly nailing the French-derived word synonym with enlightenment in the 21st round of the contest finals. He edged out 14-year-old Savadna Kadam from Visalia, California, who finished in second place after misspelling Yupes, a tributary of the Rio Negro in South America, in the 20th round. Zaki, who was last year's runner-up, had correctly spelled Chaldee, a dialect of the biblical Aramaic language, in the 20th round, but under spelling bee rules, Zaki needed to land one more word in a solo round to claim the trophy. He did so in round 21 by instantly and precisely spelling ecclesiasment, defined as the clearing up of something obscure. He surprised the audience by giving his answer without taking the customary pause afforded contestants to ask the judges for more information about the word's origin, meaning, and pronunciation. He was crowned the champion in a hail of confetti before being joined on stage by his parents and other relatives. He will receive $50,000 in prize money. Asked what he would do next, Zaki replied, "I'm probably going to stay up the entire night or something." Take a look at that.
We won't be waiting too much longer. We have returned to the finals of the 2025 Scripps National Spelling Bee. We are this close to finding out who that champion's going to be.
Here we are, down to 3. It's been quite a journey these last few days, hasn't it, for all of us?
T-E-R-A-K, Tarak.
Very close. Tarak is spelled T-I-R-A-K.
Well,
A-C-H-E-R, Acker.
I'm sorry, Acker or Acre is spelled A-C-K-E-R.
So
now, last year's runner-up, Faizan
Kamalina. K-A-M, oh, okay, wait. Let me think. All the information?
Oh, boy.
Kamalina. Oh, shoot, okay. Whatever, just bring it.
I'm sorry.
He knows he said the wrong first letter once he heard the actual word.
Kamalina is a kind of plant. It's spelled C-O-M-M-E-L-I-N-A.
Yeah. Okay, so now you know what happens, though. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Started to spell it, but that was the wrong first letter, which you saw him recognize. And the rules of the competition say we start a new round with all 3 spellers, since they all missed in that same round.
M-U-H-L-Y, Muley.
That's correct.
Don't know if we've ever had a...
Esserine. E-S-S-E-R-I-N-E, Esserine. Oh, yeah, okay.
I'm sorry, very close again.
Thank you.
They'll be looking forward to it as well.
C-U-P-A-R, Cooper? Correct, thank you.
Wow.
H-U-A-U-P-E-S, Wowpes.
I'm sorry, Wowpes is spelled U-A-U-P-E-S.
Just take a seat over there, please.
So close.
Repeat the word.
Chaldi or Chaldi or Chaldi.
Chaldi or Chaldi. Okay. Chaldi, C-H-A-L-D-E-E. Chaldi.
That is correct.
So your word is